But the only thing we do have a concern with from this side, and it should be noted, was the price, the purchase price. We did find that quite interesting around the sale of the purchase price. At that time, Silkwood, I believe, Silkwood was actually advertised to offer below $5 million. $5 million. That's not a good deal. Anyone going in to buy a property, anyone going in to buy a house, I don't think you go in and offer more than 50% of the asking price. More than 50% of the asking price, which I do find quite concerning, Madam Speaker, that here we have this property that's been bought for more than 50% above the asking price. So just imagine being the sole buyer for a house and somehow agreeing to fork out 50% more than the asking price. It is completely bizarre. I don't think that's a good deal.
Not a good deal for Territorians.
It's definitely not a good deal for Territorians. And for a government that claims to be fiscally responsible and has just axed $20 million from the tourism budget, this seems like an extraordinary amount to pay. The government needs to come out and explain why they've paid so much, why they've paid more than 50% of the asking price, Madam Speaker. And it's a simple question. It's a simple question around transparency that Territorians deserve and expect to know why it was sold at more than 50% of the asking price. I think it's a genuine question and I think it should be answered because Territorians deserve to know. But we haven't heard anyone from this side. I think Minister 𝘾𝙊𝙉𝙏𝘾𝙏 may be speaking on this after. There'll be other members speaking on that after. So I hope they can answer that question, why it was bought for more than 50% of the asking price. But we do have some of those questions around the purchase price. And I think, you know, with a transparent government that you say you are, I would hope that you'd be able to answer those questions why it costs more than 50% more. Why it costs 50% more than the asking price. And I understand the member for 𝘾𝙊𝙉𝙏𝘾𝙏 will get up and answer those questions I hear, but there was some criticism. I was on Katie Wolf, and I know Matt Cunningham from Sky News also had concerns around those questions. So the property was worth under $5 million. We got it more than 50%. I think that's a pretty bad deal. A pretty bad deal.
Now that we've got the positive stuff, I just want to quickly remind everybody that when we're in this chamber, it's always polite to listen to what people have to say. So when I listened to the Minister for Land Planning and Environment explain that the parcel first went up for sale for $14 million, and then it was adjusted $18 million, then $14 million, at no point was the parcel of land for sale for $4 million. I do not understand what ChatGPT or staffer upstairs is working for the Deputy Leader of the Opposition, but it's nice to check your facts once in a while. If you Google the words Silkwood real estate, you can find the original listings, you can find the NT News articles at the time which state those values. And this idea that the government somehow paid 50% more than the asking price when in fact we paid 50% less than the asking price is an embarrassment on their research on those on the opposite. Thank you.
Mr Deputy Speaker, I also want to clear up the record about this price that the opposition keeps talking about, and I seek leave, Mr Deputy Speaker, to table
Order. Leader of the Opposition,
a document.
cease interjecting. Continue.
I seek leave to table a document.
Leave green.
This document is a copy of the NT News article dated December 2024, which very clearly highlights that the original asking price was over $18 million, and the owner would consider offers over $14 million. We bought this piece of land. Oh, do I have to table this now? The official. I seek leave to table it. I tabled it. Done. Okay, great. We offered $7.5 million for that parcel of land, and that was what was accepted. It represents incredible value for Territorians.
ALP's regressive vision for arts and culture in the Northern Territory again demonstrated their lack of understanding of what actually underpins and will further drive the visitor economy forward. Their derogatory, deeply unhelpful commentary on what was formerly the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Art Gallery in Alice Springs. as well as the art gallery here in Darwin, are appalling. The arts, tourism and business community are all united in their disbelief about the way the CLP have gutted both of those projects that would have seen many more visitors do both ends of the territory. The missed opportunities is what we hear from many in the community who just shake their heads at the government's incredibly poor judgment in relation to both of these job-creating, economy-boosting projects. The Northern Territory is renowned for its vibrant art scene, offering visitors, both international and domestic, a unique culture that sets it apart from anywhere else in the country. But the CLP won't back it. Instead, they denigrate it and disrespect the many Territory creatives who contribute so much to our community, our vibrancy, our lifestyle. Territorians are still completely in the dark about the fate of the State Square Art Gallery. They're excited about this addition to the city. It is something the business community said was a priority. The CLP has completely destroyed not only this project, but the sense of optimism and excitement Darwin people and Darwin businesses were feeling about it. The same goes for the National Aboriginal Art Gallery of Australia in Alice Springs, Madam Speaker. Modelling showed that the art gallery would grow visitation in Alice Springs by $53,000 and inject an estimated $64 million into the economy each year, which is something that Alice Springs needs, those extra visitation numbers down in Alice Springs. Now, I met with Tourism Top End yesterday to talk about some of those visitation numbers, and the numbers in Alice Springs, they were saying, could be improved by such things as the Aboriginal Art Gallery. Because a lot of people fly directly into Uluru, which is great. That's what we want. We want to see numbers. We want to see people from interstate, internationally, flying directly into Uluru, but then most people fly out from Uluru. I think it was around 20% of people will do the drive on from Uluru back into Alice Springs. So what do we need to attract people in Alice Springs, to get people directly to Alice Springs? Member for 𝘾𝙊𝙉𝘾𝙏? A gallery. Yes, a gallery. You would think that we would have an internationally renowned Aboriginal art gallery at Alice Springs. But instead, what we've got is a government that's completely downsized, completely disrespecting the people of Alice Springs, and just...
Okay, stop the interjections. Please continue, Member for Daly, in silence.
So the government, the CLP government, actually had an opportunity. It's been budgeted for, it's been advocated to the federal government. The federal government, Catherine King, the minister down in Canberra, allocated that money for the Aboriginal Art Gallery. And what do the CLP do? They come in and downsize it. They disrespect the arts sector. Shame. Completely disrespect the creative sector. And I can hear the member for Blaine calling out, but he's got no idea how the arts sector feel about this, because we've had many people come to us and raise their concerns. They were very excited to see this art gallery put up in Alice Springs. So I suggest to the member for Blaine, if you're going to, before you call out, maybe you go and meet with the arts sector. Maybe you go and meet with Central Australian tourism sector and get down there and see how they feel about it. Because I guarantee you haven't been down there to speak to the sector, to speak to the people of how important this art gallery is.
And Madam Speaker, to speak further on the member for Daly, and I'd like to speak about his comments regarding the economy and people needing art galleries, which is an absolute insult to people in my electorate. If Labor is still pushing that art galleries is the economic mover that will get people in my electorate to be able to afford their grocery bills or to pay their electricity bills or their mortgage, it is just utter nonsense. It shows such disconnect and disdain for the working people in my electorate. So many people throughout my time doing this role, I've stood During my campaign, I stood at Coles and spoke to people as they could not afford their grocery bills. And yet Labor still comes in here and their grand economic reform is building more art centres. It is so disconnected from the reality facing the common Territorian. And the people of my electorate do not want, when they are hungry, to go visit a state-of-the-art art centre. They want to afford a basic shop at Coles. They want to make sure they can see a doctor when their child is sick, and they want to make sure a teacher is in the classroom when their child goes to school. This idealism is just so disconnected with the basic needs of everyday Territorians. It truly astounds me that the member for Daly pushed that narrative, and I sincerely hope his party colleagues realign on where Territorians' needs are at the moment, and that isn't the economic package they move forward with in the future.
How is cultural heritage in the proposed Silkwood National Park being identified, protected and managed? And is this work being done hand in hand with the 𝘾𝙊𝙉𝘾𝙏 and 𝘾𝙊𝙉 people? We know that there are significant rock art sites in the park. What work is being done to map and safeguard other areas of cultural significance? I'm also unclear about the tenure of the land. Is Silkwood going to be part of Litchfield National Park? And if so, what are the native title and land use implications if this land is declared a national park? If it's not going to be part of Litchfield National Park, what is it going to be? What tenure will it have? And what's the plan to conserve and manage the cultural and natural values of the park if it's not a national park?
I hope that Silkwood can be a reserve that is jointly managed with Aboriginal Territorians to ensure that the utmost respect for cultural and spiritual heritage is abided and is respected, and that those tourism opportunities are afforded to our Aboriginal Territorians to really look at and help shape the territory. I think that there is another location in the Northern Territory that should be a national park. Work has been done and was being undertaken before the change of government, and I ask this government to consider looking at making another reserve, another national park, and that is the 𝘾𝙊𝙉𝘾𝙏 National Park. That is the last site of a sanctioned massacre in Australia in 1928, just outside of Alice Springs. And work has been undertaken with traditional owners around whether or not that is appropriate. Yes, they think it's appropriate. Work was being undertaken before the change of government. We did heritage list the 𝘾𝙊𝙉𝘾𝙏 site, but I would absolutely love to work with the government on working to make the 𝘾𝙊𝙉𝙾𝙏 massacre site part of a national park or a reserve to honour and respect and absolutely memorialise the events that unfolded there, because it is a truly important place to Central Australians, and we do need to protect it for the future. I think that there are amazing opportunities right now before us when we're talking about the future use of these areas, and the government have already signalled that it might be a hunting reserve for part thereof. And I think obviously we need to work through what the insurances look like, how you can enter, the safety regulations and so forth, incredibly important. But I do think that there are other opportunities as well to work with our environmental groups, our wonderful environmental groups across the Northern Territory, to look at how we can partner with them in these reserves to make sure that we're maintaining and that we are supporting those important and unique ecosystems in each of those national parks, because our parks are just as unique and special as every corner and every person in the Territory is. So, look, I won't spend too much time today. It is a welcomed announcement, certainly looking forward to finding out the finer details into the future, because, yes, we do need to know that. We do want to work through it. And, you know, I think that there are some opportunities to look at diversification in some areas as well, as long as they're done in partnership with traditional owner groups and local communities.